Hey guys, in our last video we went and created a simple static website using Jekyll. If you already have your own static website to host in S3, you can go ahead and skip that and just use the one we created as an example. Let's go ahead and get started. So here's the Jekyll site we created. It is saved right here under my administrator folder in this folder called site. So we're going to create an S3 bucket to host that. So when you create a bucket, if you intend to host this as a domain or subdomain, you need to create the bucket with the name of the domain or subdomain that this would be. So if you owned this is my site.com, that should be the name of your bucket. For me, I'm going to call this test site. Wow, I butchered that. Test site .legatituda.net. All right. We can skip most of this stuff. We do not want to block public access. This is going to be a public bucket because it has to be accessible over the internet. All right, let's create that. So this is created, testsite.legatituda.net. I am going to go in here. Let's go to properties and static website hosting. We're going to use this bucket to host a website. Now it's going to ask for your index document. That's usually going to be index.html. The error document. Now the Jekyll site that we created doesn't actually have an error document, but I'll add one later. I usually call it 404.html. I'll go ahead and add that later. Save that. We're going to want to add some public permissions. So let's go to permissions. We're going to create a bucket policy. I'm going to copy and paste this example bucket policy. I will go ahead and paste this into the description of the video so you can get that and you don't need to try and copy this from site. But I'm going to call this test site.legatituda.net. Save that. And you'll see this bucket now has public access, which is exactly what we're going for here. So that's good news. Let's go back here. Let's get started uploading some stuff. So everything in this site is within this site folder here. We will need to recreate the file structure though. So let's start with these loose files here. Get those uploaded. All right, let's create each folder about CSS and Jekyll. All right, so about, let's grab the file under about, move that in there. Let's go back to the main directory, CSS. Let's go back to my site and get the CSS file, upload main.css. All right, let's go back to the main directory and Jekyll. I guess I need to create another folder within here. What was that? Update. Wow, it's really making me go deep with these folders. Wow. Finally upload this. And that should do it. That should be all the files for our site. Now, let's go back here. Now, if we go back to properties and static website hosting, this will give us the endpoint of our bucket. And there we go. There's our site. This is hosted live on the internet, and we can get to it through this URL. Now, if you have a site, if you have a domain hosted in Route 53 and you want to point to this, that's pretty easy to do also. We're going to go to Route 53. And let's go to policy records. No, hosted zones. Sorry about that. Here's my domain that I'm hosting. I'm going to go ahead and create the subdomain that will point to what I just created. So it was testsite.lagituda.net. I forget, was there a hyphen in there? There was. So test-site.lagituda.net. And we're going to say it's going to be type A record, alias yes, and target name. When we click on this, it should display all the targets we have. And there we go, S3 endpoint, testsite.lagituda.net. Let's create that. And it may take a few moments for DNS propagation, but as soon as that propagates, I should be able to reach the site we created over that URL. Let's go ahead and test that rather than the endpoint. Let's use testsite.lagituda.net. And there we go. That's all it took, and my site is live on the internet.